everybody, and welcome back to the Girly Girl Bookworm. Are you sick of looking at me like this? Because I slightly am. So today, I have for you my Christmas book haul. So these are books that were gifted to me or bought for myself because I got problems. Alright, so we're going to start off with the books that were gifted to me. So I was really excited. My husband actually attempted to buy me books this year. He put 2 books in my stocking, which was so nice of him. I will say the first one he started, and he has definitely good ideas for why he picked both. So the first one he picked was Apples Never Fall by Leanne Moriarty. And this one he picked out because he said, hey, I know you love her, and I feel like I haven't heard you talk about this one. And I was like, so I have read this one. I read this one when it first came out. I had a Libra FM audiobook for it, and I didn't really like this one. So I didn't ever purchase my copy of it. So in a way, it's great because I've read it before, but it's also great because I don't own it, and I own all of her other books. So it actually works out that, like, if you're going to buy me a book that I've already read, at least I don't own it already. So that is a plus. So he grabbed me that one. And the other one he grabbed me was The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. Now, I haven't read this book. I don't really know much about it. All I know is it was very, very hyped last year. And my husband goes, it's got your buzzwords. And I was like, it does? And he's like, wedding, going to Spain. Like, it just sounded like everything I would like. So I thought it was very thoughtful of him. And I told him, though, next time, if you know I like the author, don't buy it, because chances are I probably have already bought it myself. But I thought this one was really sweet, and that he, like, took the time to, like, read the back and think if I would actually enjoy it. So I'm excited to try this one. Then Jen from Reading with Pugs sent me 2 books, which was so sweet of her. She sent me The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana, and, like, guys, I've heard fantastic things about this book. I've heard it compared to the same feelings that you get with the House of the Cerulean Sea. So, like, if you get those vibes from this one, like, I want to read it. I think it's about, like, these witches, and then, like, they have to, like, hide their magic, but I think they start to send them young witches to kind of control their magic. I just read that really fast. Well, I guess how to control their magic. So just, it sounds really cute, and I can't wait to pick that one up. And she also sent me Visibility by Alice Wong. This is first-person stories from the 21st century. I just thought this one could be really interesting and that you could really learn a lot from it. I've heard really great things about Alice Wong's books in general. I think this is not her first one. She wrote something else first. I can't find it. I could have swore she wrote something else or edited something else. Maybe she didn't. I could have swore she did. Yeah, she wrote The Year of the Tiger. She had written something. Sorry, my cough. If you've watched my other videos, you know I have a weird scratch in my throat. I think it's from just, like, all the talking over, like, obviously teaching, and then, like, all the, like, gatherings of talking to everybody. My throat was not liking it so much. So, yeah, that's really interesting. And then Kendra from Kendra Loves Books sent me Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. I haven't read anything by her since Little Fires Everywhere. I never read her debut novel, but this one recently came out, and it sounded interesting. I think it's about a mother-daughter relationship, which I'm a little nervous about. But I think that it'll be really good at the same time. And I was just recently challenged to read this for my Instagram challenges you to read 12 books. So excited to get to this one. I was not the biggest fan of Little Fires Everywhere, but I think that this one will definitely go better. Then, Barnes & Noble's having their 50% off hardcover sale. So I took Sydney on a little mother-daughter date to Barnes & Noble yesterday to pick some books up. She picked up 2, one for her and one for Sawyer, and then I picked out a bunch for myself because that's why I went there in the first place. I will say their hardcover sale itself wasn't that great. they didn't really have a ton to choose from, and I don't know if it's like, did I get there and it was already picked over? I'm not positive about that. So I ended up getting a bunch of books that they had as like the buy one get one half off paperback sale than I did for the hardcover sale, but it is what it is. So I grabbed A Revert Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. There is a Instagrammer that I'm really good friends with on Instagram. She her name is Lauren's Bookspot. Lauren. I just call her Lauren. I don't actually know what her handle is. Let me find out. Lauren's Reading Spot. And she's been raving about this duology. So when I saw this and it looks stunning, I picked it up. I'm a little nervous because I don't think it's anything that I would typically read, because I think that there's a little bit of like fantasy to it, but I just think it's gorgeous and I want to read it. So I grabbed that. And then because this buy one get one half off, I also grabbed The Stolen Book of Evelyn Aubrey by Serena Burdick. I have, again, never heard of this one either. This one is a dual timeline story in 1898 and 2006. And in the 1898 one, there's a woman named Evelyn, and she's married to this famous novelist. And their, like, newlywedness starts disappearing because he's got writer's block and he's blaming her and he's taking things out on her. So she decides to write her way out of her unhappy marriage. Now in 2006, this woman is she's always wondered about her father, who's never been in her life. She's kind of not sure who she is now. Her mother's dead. And she ends up finding a message that her great-grandmother was this prolific author, Evelyn Aubrey. And she starts to like search for answers and figure out who she is. And like this big disappearance it might not have actually been a disappearance. And it just sounded really interesting. I love dual timeline stories, especially to figure out like how they end up interconnecting. So I'm excited for that one. And then the other two that I grabbed in that sale were Always the First to Die by R.J. Jacobs. Another one that I have know nothing about. But it says, one movie set, one stranded cast, and one person ready to make them all pay. I think that this movie cast ends up at this place where they were supposed to be like making this film. And then there's like a hurricane that's about to hit, and obviously somebody might not make it out alive. So, sounded really interesting and intense, and I just wanted to give it a try. And then this is another one that my eyes have been on it for a while, and that's Tell Me Lies by Carola. I don't know why I can never say her name. Carola Levering. She's from Connecticut. I read her other two books, her most recent one, and the one that came out before that, but I've never read her debut. And I saw it sitting there, and I was like, you know what? Maybe this is my sign that I finally need to read this one, and it's about a toxic, like, couple relationship. I think they're in college, and it sounds like a book that will just immediately grab me, and that's exactly what I need right now, so perfect. And then Sydney wanted to get a little treat, so we went to the cafe, and they had a lovely deal of when you buy something at the cafe, you could get a book for $5. That was, like, right there. Like, you didn't get a book of your choice for $5. You got the book that was there for $5. So I grabbed She's Gone by David Bell, and this sounds like a interesting story. I've read from David Bell before, but this one is like a teenager couple, and this guy wakes up in the night of homecoming in the hospital. He has no idea how he got there. He has no idea where his girlfriend is. Like, he's like, wait, we've been in a car accident. And then he has no memory of the crash. And they find, like, blood in his car, but his girlfriend is nowhere to be found. So, obviously, they are starting to look at him and, like, the dynamics of that while he's trying to go back to high school. And just, it sounds wild. So, for $5, I grabbed it. I grabbed This Might Hurt by Stephanie Rarbel. Now, I read from her prior. I read her Darling Rose Gold book, which I enjoyed. I gave it 4 stars. I buddy read it with Kendra. But then when I read kind of what had influenced her to write that book, they seemed like two identical stories. And I was like, this doesn't really feel like she wrote this herself. Like, this feels like she just took somebody else's story and made it hers. And so I kind of stayed away from this when this first came out. But now I want to read it. Because I feel like I now want to know, is she just a really good author or what's going on? So this one is a kind of like cult story. And that's all I know. And that's all I care to know. And then my last book that I grabbed from this sale was The Ruins by Phoebe Whitney. I'm not sure. And then this is about these people who go to the French Riviera. I had no idea what this book was until I literally picked it up in the store. And they go to this house in France, and like all of a sudden, like all these unexpected guests come, and friends and family, and like they have this fancy summer holiday, but I think something goes wrong. And now it's like 2 decades later, and like the chateau is up for sale. And I think it's just gonna kind of like unearth like all of what happened like that 2 decades prior. Since purchasing this, I feel like this is like my trend whenever I give into the sale and then the year when I buy books at random. It does not have good ratings. It's got like a 3.17 rating. So I'm a little nervous. If you've read this, let me know. But I'm going to give it a try. Hope it's good. So yes, those are the books that I grabbed for Christmas for myself and were also gifted to me. Let me know if you've read any of these down below. And I will see you guys really soon. Bye, everybody.